Good morning, dear friends. How fine it is to be with you this morning. It's been a week or two since I've spoken in gratitude for my little house, but I thank you. This would have been a challenging morning in the tent because it's a little below freezing. I would have and could have done it. I have gear for 30 below and have slept out at 47 below at the coldest ever in Yellowstone. But doing a broadcast like that would be challenging. Broadcasting this morning from the South Pole. Anyway, I am Robert Beatty. I'm coming to you from Portland, Oregon. The Portland Insight Meditation Community, which you can find at portlandinsight.org. You can also find my website, robertbeatty.com, at the usual www place. So this is a manifestation of the lineage of teachings that come from the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, 2,600 years ago in North India. A person who was an ordinary person like us, who faced a lot of social upheaval in his time. There were wars around him. During his lifetime, the city of his birth was completely destroyed, and they estimate that more than 60,000 people were killed during his lifetime. So it's not abnormal to live in unstable times. In fact, it's unusual to live in stable times in a way, because everything's unstable, everything is impermanent. So I have a strengthening reading for this morning. Oops, it went away. Come back. I can't remember how it came to me, which is true with most of my poetry. It's by someone called Monica Hall. I had a dream of an easy life. A life where I loved college, made lifelong friends, impressed all my professors, graduated with honors, ceremony, cap and gown, teary pride family. A life like a straight line, smooth, sharp, direct, forward, up. A life where I didn't feel betrayed or heartbroken, or a deep, unquenchable ache. A pain so great I chose a hospital as the last resort. A life of epic romance, of ravenous passion and fascinating connection. A life like a party, myself the life. A life of ease, success, adoration. A life that preserved my virginal innocence, my sweet ignorance. A life without struggle, regret, or disappointment. A life without lostness, confusion, and quiet desperation. A life without loneliness, hopelessness, and self-doubt. A life without suffering, fear, or shame. A life of perfect harmony and happily ever after. I mourn this fantasy, this imaginary life, this fake life, this safe life, this meaningless life, this pointless, faithless life. What good would it be or do for me or for you? I thank this imperfect, chaotic, magical life. I rejoice in its apparent cruelty, in its roughness. I celebrate its mystery, for it is mine alone. It has created me. the one. Cheers to you, my flawed and flailing, my passionate, my ailing, complicated, messy, winding, tangled life. Salute. I had a dream of an easy life. A life where I loved college, made lifelong friends, impressed all my professors, graduated with honors, ceremony, cap and gown, teary pride, family. A life like a straight line, smooth, sharp, direct, forward, up. A life where I didn't feel betrayed or heartbroken or a deep, unquenchable ache. A pain so great I chose a hospital as the last resort. A life of epic romance or ravenous passion and fascinating connection. A life like a party, myself the life. A life of ease, success, adoration. A life that preserved my virginal innocence, my sweet ignorance. A life without struggle, regret, or disappointment. A life without lostness, confusion, or quiet desperation. A life without loneliness, hopelessness, and self-doubt. A life without suffering, fear, and shame. A life of perfect harmony and happily ever after. I mourn this fantasy, this imaginary life, this fake life, this safe life, this meaningless life, this pointless, faithless life. What good would it be or do for me or for you? I thank this imperfect, chaotic, magical life. I rejoice in its apparent cruelty. In its roughness, I celebrate its mystery. For it is mine alone. It has created me, the one. Cheers to you, my flawed and flailing, my passionate, my ailing, complicated, messy, winding, tangled life. Salute. Thank you for being here this morning, dear friends. Seems like we just did this. You really never know what's coming in life, do you? As you probably know, we're headed towards some major modifications on PIMC to make the building wheelchair accessible. I'll give you details as soon as the permits are issued. But the place will become wheelchair accessible, and the offices downstairs will become magically legal, expensively legal. And we've had a problem with some floor wetness in one of the offices, and we've been looking into solutions. One solution is to dig a trench all along the wall and put a sump pump in. Another solution is to put in better gutters. And we discovered yesterday that Mish, who may be on here, was going in to put in a new floor, and she discovered underneath the existing floor, it's already water. So we're going to have to observe what happens, but you never know, do you? Yeah. Your project is going this way, and all of a sudden there's something else to do. So taking refuge in linear progression is probably not wise. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya. Well, I had a wonderful sit this morning. I got ahead of you. You know, it's all competition. So, and to dear friends on Facebook, it looks like you're getting sound. I hope it's working okay. Please let us sit together. Let us land here in this moment. This moment of life. There's lots of things we could be wishing it was, imagining it was. We could be not looking forward to what's coming today, or we could be quite excited about it. And everything in between. Please bring awareness into where you're sitting. To really come into contact with the contact itself. And notice the life in your hands. In the breathing. It's very comforting that the light comes back each morning. It's similarly comforting that we turn toward the breath, and here it is. And as it's always been since the moment of our first gasping, inhale, breathing has a moment of arising, of coming into being. A lifetime of rising to fullness, a decline, and then a disappearance. It could be that this morning you are dropping into a silent mind. Or it could be into a lot of emotion. There could be happiness, joy, sadness, despair, loneliness, confusion. Let's really notice how the sensations of breathing are not those emotions. The sensations of breathing are not whatever mood is present. We are a collection, an aggregation of experiences. Coming home to abide in this breathing. To allow there to be room in the field of mindfulness and concentration for any thoughts which arise. There could be a leaning into the future happening in the mind in the form of imagination, worry, fantasy. There could be a clinging, a leaning into the past with memory, with remorse or would have, should have, could have. Awareness illuminates these propensities of past and future. Many of us have complex to-do lists. And there's somehow an unconscious notion that if I get the to-do list done, everything will be fine, but there's always more. So for now, right here, allowing every breath to be exactly as it is. The same with thoughts, emotions, liking and disliking of anything. One of the 7 enlightenment factors is curiosity. We're not practicing just to find a place of bliss where we can hide out. We're constantly, in a non-verbal way, asking the question, who am I? What's going on here? Moment by moment, we observe the mysterious arising and passing away of a breath, a thought, a body sensation. And we might ask, how intimately can I come in contact with this next breath, or this itch that's happening, or this fantasy that's pulling me off into trance for a little while? It is a remarkable skill to relax and be awake and fully inhabit the present moment. And it is in this moment when life happens. One could say we are practicing more fully incarnating. Stephen Levine's words, we are accepting the healing we took birth for. And how much love, how much love can we tolerate? In love, there's room for everything. How much aliveness can we tolerate? How much awareness and presence and the conditioned liking and disliking that happens this moment and this moment. How awake can we be to the thought patterns, the personality patterns and impulses? How awake can you be to the astounding arising of stimuli at all the sense doors? Resting back into life. Into the particulars of life in this moment. And please let us connect with the part of ourselves that longs to truly be awake, longs to truly accept our lives on their own terms. We all do want the same thing, to be safe, to be loved and loving, to have our basic needs cared for, to live well and to die well. We might experiment with letting a tiny little smile come to the lips, corners of the lips. It's a teaching by Thich Nhat Hanh. Just imagine a little smile. And maybe think a kind thought like, I love you, with your name at the end. I love you with your name at the end. And how about contemplating going through your day from when we finish here to whatever comes next? Imagine yourself doing what comes next with a little smile on your face. A little mindfulness. As you head off into the day, maybe to drive somewhere or to fire up the computer or deal with the children, make phone calls. Imagine a little smile. Remembering that you have two jobs at least. One is to stay mindful and compassionate and loving, your spiritual quest. And then there are the worldly responsibilities. But not abandoning your tiny smile just because you're busy. Or just because unhappy news comes or happy news comes. And let's now come to the moment of opening in the body, from the toes to the legs to the pelvis, in the torso, the front and back and sides, the fingers and hands and thumbs, the arms, shoulders, armpits, neck, jaw, lips, cheeks, nose, eyes, forehead, scalp, ears, it's alive. Bringing now awareness particularly into the eyes. Roll them around inside their little protective cases. And then making the effort to raise the eyelids, noticing the intention to do so, and then opening up to the world. And you might, as I do, find a field of postage stamp-sized human beings. Why not keep a little smile, an indiscernible smile? People will never know you're doing it. They'll probably feel it, but smile and wish each person well. We have no idea what we're all going through. There are people on this screen that are having health crises. There's family crises. There's the astonishment at what happens in the news. The bizarreness of what appears to be reality. But we do know that everyone here longs to be loved and seen, held. And we are the representatives of billions. So I think I want to mention my retreat, which is happening December 5 and 6. It's 2/3 full. There's about another 12 or 13 spaces. And you can find that easily by going to hollyhock.ca. Hollyhock.ca. And also to invite you to dip deeply into the Dharma by visiting or continuing to participate in the other classes that are happening. On Monday nights, Jim is doing his Rumi's guest house, and Tuesday night, Gary is teaching, and Wednesday is Gregory and Doyle's. Friday morning, Doug Thursday night, Kate on Friday, and Candle on Sundays. I mean, it's quite an amazing array of opportunities to dig into. And you are invited to practice generosity, to be part of in that financial way by visiting portlandinsight.org and finding a way. See if it makes sense. See if it really see if it will nourish you to participate in the financial life of your center. And monthly contributions are the most stable for us, so we encourage that. So there, I did my responsibilities on the announcements. What are your announcements? How is it going?
Robert, several people are interested in seeing that poem again.
Oh, good. I will put it on. Oh, let me stick it in the chat. I'll try to do that. Plus, I'll put it on my blog. I don't want to get too distracted here. In fact, I'll put it on my blog, robertbeatty.com blog. I'll do that before I get up from this chair. After we hang up, so to speak. Oh, I can also do this right now. Take the moment. A text from Jennifer. Furnace broken again. I'm calling now. It's endless, isn't it? I had a dream of an easy life. All right. Connections. There it is. It's on the PIMC mailing list if you participate in that, and it will be on my blog. And the blog is really a poetry collection. It's Tim. Hi, Tim.
I just had news yesterday that one of my very oldest, dearest friends, somebody I've known for over 50 years, passed away yesterday. And I was reflecting on how easy, relatively speaking, it's been for me to accept that and let him go. And for one reason, said he passed easily. He just laid down to take a little nap and didn't wake up. Just got back from the store with his wife and said he was going to lay down for a minute. She went in to check on him a few minutes later and he was gone. So that's a good way to go. I think. But I think one of the things that made it more possible for me, and it's total cliche that everybody says, if you love somebody, tell them that you love them. And the last thing I think I said to him was, I love you, my brother. We've been in contact over Facebook. We haven't lived in the same part of the country for 50 years, but we've been in contact. And I think the last thing he said to me, is thank you for being the man that you are. I love you. And I said back, I love you too, my brother. And to have that simple, to have that in place kind of makes all the difference. So I guess you've heard it 1,000 times. You could love somebody, tell them.
And the name of this person?
His name was Larry Robertson. And he lived in Walden, Colorado, a little town way up in the mountains above Fort Collins. And he was a drummer and a family man, a good man. We were teenage alcoholic hoodlums together in the 60s and the 70s. I mean, airplane food, a lot of important things.
Thank you, Tim. I think I want to, I just learned that it's Marion's birthday. And I think we should do the appropriate ritual, shouldn't we? Marion, do you want to show up as a picture? You don't have to. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Marion. Happy birthday to you. Yay!
Thank you, Sangha. Thank you.
Thanks for letting us know. It's a good day that you were born.
This year, 4 years ago, it was a terrible day.
Uh-huh. Well, may it persist.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a lovely juxtaposition with the beautiful friend passing and you're having your birthday.
Yes, I'm sorry for your loss, Tim.
Thank you both.
Morning, Robert. It's Michael.
Hello, Mr. Michael. There you are. I see you now.
I just wanted to say something real quick. We have a little place up in Rainbow, Oregon, which, if anybody blinked and missed it, is right up by Mackenzie Bridge, between Blue River and Mackenzie Bridge. We were up there this weekend, as we have been every few weekends, and I just wanted to remember in people's hearts the damage that these fires have done.
Oh.
It's devastating still to drive through that area and just see the hundreds of homes that have been lost. And it's the same in the Highway 22 Valley and so many places. So, yeah, it's easy for us in Portland and in the cities to say, well, the smoke's gone, the fire's gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's not true. So I just wanted to remind people of that. There's a lot of loss. A lot of healing. Thanks.
Hey, Robert. It's Tim, the other Tim. Hi, Robert.
Hello, Mr. Tim.
The other Tim in Eugene. Just wanted to share. I don't know if it was a dream or something I just sort of made up as I was waking up recently, but I sort of saw myself in a kind of a jail cell with rising swamp water, and I had stilts on. I'm a straight white middle class man, so I had stilts on, but a lot of people around me were kind of drowning, and uh, and then we were informed that once a year the door would be unlocked, and everybody pushed against that door, and the water drained out, and we walked outside, and it felt like that part kind of represented the Biden presidency. And then we walked out into this beautiful meadow where the sun was shining, and it felt like that's the Harris vice presidency. And and then we looked around and we realized there was a lot of work to do, weeding that needed to be done in this meadow, and people that needed to be taken care of. But I just feel like these layers and layers of protection and guardedness have been lifting, and it feels really good.
Thank you, Tim. And hello, Janet.
Hey Robert, this is Vic here.
Hello, Vic.
So, um, it's been a interesting few days, I think. Last week, I work in healthcare technology, and last I was talking to a gentleman from Indiana, and he's a senior executive in a very large medical technology company, worth several billions of dollars. There's a short meeting about something else, and he expressed his disappointment, concern about the way the elections were going because he wanted Trump to be elected. I've had similar conversations with folks who live in Wisconsin, Iowa, and these are people who are, in my opinion, mostly well-meaning, well-educated. They've been in healthcare for 20 plus years, 25 years. They want to do the right thing by the patients. They want to make sure that they're safe. But there's this kind of difference of opinion. And, it just kind of opens me up to the enormity of what I believe that I will have to face in the next several weeks, months, years perhaps, because my first response is anger. There's risks around disappointment. Why can't I just be with people from my own tribe? But the reality is that is not going to be realistic, at least for me. I cannot be just with my tribe. I have to work with all tribes. And so trying to figure out how to do that, I think, is an interesting challenge. And trying to do that by, zingers, one-liners in short meetings, I don't think an answer. I think there needs to be an invitation to spend time. It's going to take time, is what I think it's going to take. And I'm reminded by also, Amory and I have taken Doyle's course on nonviolent communication, and we just went through the chapter on anger, about how don't discount the anger, but first give pause, right? Pause on anger, recognize the judgments that are coming up, try to connect with other person, intelligent needs, and see if we can have requests and conversations. All that takes time. And so I think the challenge is going to be to try and figure out how to do that, um, because it needs to be done. It's a it's a daunting task, but it feels like that's what needs to happen. I just wanted to kind of share that with you and Lysandra.
Thank you, Vic.
Hello, Robert. It's Patrick.
Hello, Patrick.
Over here.
Actually, I don't know. I can even do it on my other screen. Look at that. We're showing ad spotlight. Here you are. Hello, Patrick.
Hi. So, what Vic said touches on something that I've wanted to share here for a couple of weeks with everybody. We are tribal, and so on one side, we want to be kind to people. We want to reach out to the less fortunate. We want to take care of them. That's a very human response. It's a very loving response. But also, on the other side of the coin, self-sufficiency is a virtue. We don't like freeloaders. The tribe needs to exist by having everyone participate. That is the other side of the coin. We reward people who are the most productive. And so these are, for me, symbolized in two parts in our duopolistic political system. And so I remember my dad, he taught me when I was reading, he handed me a book when I was a kid. Here, Patrick, read this every day. Read this once a year, and you'll be a successful man. This is Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. And one of the lines in there, I don't remember hardly anything about it, except that I read it like a couple times, but is that people are reasonable in their own shoes according to their own experience. And so I look at the other side of the, most of the middle of the country for me, and I go, these people are. How could they think that? How could they be so awful to everybody else? How could they just steamroll over everything? But the truth is that it's just the other side of my brain. It's just the other side of our tribe that's talking. And Vic's right. It's going to take a lot of talking and understanding. And we're in for a period of, I hope, a lot of compromise, because these two halves of our brain are not going to go away.
Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah.
Hey, Robert, it's KB.
KB.
Good morning, sir.
Hi.
I just wanted to respond to both of the last two comments and actually kind of throw this back at you. But one of the main problems I'm having with crossing the bridge to the other side is that the other side was willing to vote for demonizing our side. Demonizing. That man, Trump, demonized Democrats, demonized people who had opposing views. And if they were willing to vote for him and support that kind of attitude for their own other reasons, then the wisdom of reaching across and trying to make nice can be a waste of time and a battering of a kind of an insult to your side, to ourselves who are trying to reach out. And I feel that, and I just want to say that, and I'd love to know how I can use a Buddhist, I do like a Buddhist perspective, but we've got to remember that supporting a man like that is what Nazis did. And that's how Hitler came into power. We only stopped it because it was a 4-year term, but it would have kept going. And so I just want to say, I can't be quite as forgiving as some of the other people here, and I'd love to know what you think about that. Thank you so much.
Hey, Robert, and Vic here. responded before you did, or would you?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. Just, yeah.
So, one of the things that I think the nonviolent communication classes have been trying to teach me, I don't know if I've learned it yet, is that a lot of the reasons why people communicate is because of what they feel and because of unmet needs. And trying to have that exchange in a meaningful way, the empathic connection is what I've been told. And so, one of the things that I would like to do with these folks is perhaps try to spend some time and then hear them and perhaps have the ability to translate what they're saying into a feeling and a need. I think it has to be a quick conversation, a one-on-one conversation. I think if I were to talk about what Trump, I would lose people. I would have to kind of worry about what Kevin feels, about what Tim feels, about what John feels. And say, if they come back to me with a one-liner of, you're socialist or they're socialist, you're doing this, well, I have to say, well, okay, I understand. Here's a feeling that you're trying to express. And hopefully, at some point, I can tell them about how I have been treated, where I've had very racist young white men come and scream at me in my face, call me an N-word, threaten me. And that, by the way, that's just open racism. I've had systemic racism with police, the weapons on me, as a householder who called them in. And hopefully that'll get to a point where they understand where I'm coming from. And the hope that I truly believe that these are good people. If they truly believe that it's okay for people to scream at me, then different conversation. It's beyond my ability to connect with them. They need some deeper deprogramming. But I believe that they're capable of understanding the fact that it is not okay to have somebody scream at them, call them the N-word, when they can see that I'm a human being who's able to communicate, have similar values to them. I believe that's the path that I will have to take. Have conversations about what Trump did, what Biden did, what politics is doing in the media. I think it's going to be a much harder conversation to have. I think it needs to be a one-on-one conversation with individual needs, with specific stories about what's happening with me, and that's the only thing that I can do.
Thank you, Vic.
Hi, Robert.
Oh,
David here.
can you hold on a second, David, please?
Sure thing.
I want to respond to KB.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I really have no idea what to do in the macro. It's in the personal that I live and that I understand the teachings to really be invaluable. When I see this mind thinking about them, there's a sense of that there's a thinking error happening, because there isn't a them. There's a collectivity of individuals, and even deeper than that, through the deepest part of my understanding of reality, there isn't a them there and there isn't a me here, and that what there is fundamentally is love. And so, and our conversations have been very good for me, KB, and enlightening, because you've been so focused on activism And I've been so focused on a different kind of activism. So I'm always very careful with them. And it's true that heinous actions were taken and are continuing to, and it's not going to stop. Donald Trump is about to set off on a barnstorming tour around the country using Air Force One to create dissension and conflict and hatred. And that's really bad. And I land again and again in not so much what I can do about the macro, but what can I do? What can I do where I actually have influence, which is the people that I could communicate with directly, the people that could listen to these talks and these gatherings, the people that I can touch, the people that I might write something for, to influence the conversation in the direction of it is we rather than us and them. I think the us and them always leads to the bad outcome. So I know I spent a long, I did that master's in environmental studies degree back. I graduated in 1974, and I became very immersed in the world's environmental problems, which they weren't as bad then as they are now, but they were really terrible. And I got very depressed because I was focusing on that macro thing, and I've got to change this. And then I discovered that I could change my own habits a little bit, and for me, where it fell into was following the path of freedom as best I can, and to help others to do that too. So I'm not sure if that's any support, but that's the response that comes for me. It's so big. You know, there's that powerful first line in the AA process. We came to believe we were powerless over whatever, over alcohol, over our alcoholic. And I don't think we're powerless, but we're sure not in control. And so how we go about the task of confronting and trying to bring about change, I guess I'm really deeply embedded in this one, is that if we're not rooted in love, if our actions are not coming out of love, compassion, and wisdom, then we're going to make a mess. Because we will provoke the dark side in the other. If we come at people with greed, hatred, and ignorance, we get greed, hatred, and ignorance. That's just the way it is. So there's something about resting back, and I'm feeling a little sadness right now that so many things in life are so out of control, and I'd love to get them in control, but that always requires so much tension and then violence. Yeah. I watched a 10-minute clip of a CNN reporter in various states in the middle of the country talking to Trump supporters, and they're very convinced the election's been stolen. And I can understand them having. I mean, what are they getting on the TV? What are the leaders of the Republican Party doing? They're saying they're supporting it. And so ordinary people like us, we believe what we're fed, and it's it's scary, but I have a lot of compassion, because why would I not? I'd believe that if I was in those shoes. Actually, let's say one more thing about this. I found it interesting in my brief forays into watching different right-wing news media. When I watched one of their video stories, I felt a little doubt poking up in my mind. You know, that they're very convincing people. They have lots of data. And I don't know actually what's true. I don't know. I do know that love, compassion, and wisdom are the way. But anyway, it's a mess. I resort back to, I take refuge in this moment here and the person who's before me. So thanks. I hope that's a little helpful.
Thank you very much, Robert.
There was someone wishing to speak.
That was me. Hi. It's David.
Hi, David.
Waving my hand over here. Hi.
I see you. Thank you.
So I just wanted to offer up the Sangha. I did an online retreat this weekend with, you could yell, but on gallery, that's safer. So I did an online retreat with a practice called Insight Dialogue this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
A teacher named Greg Kramer.
Uh-huh.
And I found it really, really helpful in taking my meditation practice out of the Dharma hall or the opposition and into relation practice and connecting with other people. So I just wanted to offer it up to the Sangha that it exists, and I'm not sure if many people are familiar. It was new for me, but it was really helpful. It was a really helpful weekend. So it's called Insight Dialogue, and the teacher's name is Gregory Kramer, and there's books and stuff available, but I found it really helpful. So that's all.
Gregory Kramer is an old acquaintance of mine, and his father wrote the incorporation documents for PIMC to become a corporation in the year 2000. He used to live in Portland. I don't know if he still does, but he lived about a mile away from me here.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he created this Insight Dialogue that's been huge, actually. It's really had a huge impact on many people. Very positive.
Very helpful. Very helpful.
Hi, Robert. It's Kat.
Hello, Kat.
Hi. Just in line of what we're all talking about today, in terms of the us versus them, I'm reading on your recommendation months later, Mindfulness in Plain English.
Uh-huh.
Helpful because it's in plain English, and that really does.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. And in it, he talks about the loving kindness meditation that you know, first yourself, then your loved ones, and your teachers, and the neutral person, then the different or disliked person, wishing them kindness and happiness, and that they have no suffering, etc. And he then writes, like, so why do we do this? Why are we actually trying to give people we really don't like the same blessings we would give ourselves? And I think you said this, but sometimes I need to read things for them to click in, which is that if they had all these things, if they didn't have suffering, if they didn't have anger, if they didn't have poverty, if they didn't have a lack of education, if they didn't have all these things that make them miserable, they would no longer be our enemies. Like, they would have the same things that we have. They would have the same access to joy and comfort and peace that we have. So the concept of enemy would kind of disappear. And so that really hit home for me. Like, whenever we do it in practice and we're like, pick Mitch McConnell. You've never said pick Mitch McConnell. I just usually pick Mitch McConnell when it's someone I really can't stand. It's always to make myself like, oh, I'm going to be a better person if I do this. Even that's not the point, but that is what comes up for me. And it's reading that really helps solidify. It's like, oh, so it actually, if I do this and it actually works, and it actually can theoretically erase some of that division because we all have the same gifts. And that argument really shifted thought really shifted things for me. So I wanted to share that.
Thank you. I hear Tim.
Me again.
Hi, me again.
There's a concept that I got from Christianity, at Dollars to Donuts, that it also exists in Buddhism, but that helps me a lot with this, and that is that God hates the sin that loves the sinner. To try to separate in your mind the difference between, I have to be an implacable foe of fascism and racism. That's not going to change. But I don't have to hate fascists. I don't have to hate racists. I know better. My head knows better. My heart don't always know better. Mm-hmm. But to try to keep that as a pole star. I don't hate Donald Trump. Donald Trump's a wreck. He's pitiful. I hate what he does. I hate what he says. I hate what he represents. I hate his actions. And I hate him. I don't even hate Mitch McConnell. I just hate what he does. So, to me, that really helps.
Sounds rather Buddhist of you. There's a classic story told at this point in a conversation. Often in the Buddhist world, there's a boatman out on the river, and he's poling his boat up the river, and it's very foggy, dark, and she, the boat person, spots. It looks like there's a boat coming toward that boat, and so she calls out, "Hey, boatman!" Nothing happens. The boat keeps coming. And it gets closer and closer. And finally, she's freaking out. And she's yelling and banging her stick and all. And then then they collide. And she's just screaming at the other boat person. And then she realizes, oh, shit. There's nobody in the boat. Who've I been screaming at? And so we are called upon to go very deep and to see whether there's anyone in the other boat, or whether there's the someone we fantasize in the other boat, this bad, evil, horrible, awful person. Now, one could say, well, this will lead to inaction, and not necessarily at all. I can't say I never did the martial arts, because when I was about 48, I went with my son to a karate studio twice, and I came away so just diving and throwing ourselves around. I couldn't do it anyway. But I have heard, and it makes total sense to me, that if one were going to enter battle, to enter with a heart full of love and compassion and absolute clarity and no upsetness, your chances of success are much higher. So I think that in this battle, quote, that we face, the battle of our lives, to be as kind and loving and compassionate and also clear on our values. It's like, as you were saying, hating fascism. Greed, hatred, and ignorance manifesting in the political sphere is really a bad thing. And so we might wind up putting our lives on the line. That could well happen, because I won't accept this. But to do it with as much love as we can, I think, it's where I land again and again, trying to hold that line, hold that heart. Well, time is flitting. My goodness, I had completely lost track this morning. Anybody say, oh, it's Jesus, 8:25. How do you like that? Anybody else have something you'd like to share before we sing ourselves out of here? I always have a little anxiety when we open up into the political and discussion, because I always want to keep us in the focus of the purpose of this particular gathering, which is complex, of course, but it really is the supporting of our meditative practice. But of course, we have our thoughts and our ideas and ideologies and conflicts and well, going once.
I'll share something that may be useful. It's something that's far beyond myself. This is Aaron.
Hi, Aaron.
So, not that long ago, I heard an NPR story, and it was about a black musician by the name of Daryl Davis. And I put a link in the chat. And this man actually had this very tense interview with a very high leader in the Ku Klux Klan, and eventually befriended this man. And the Klan member actually ended up giving up his robes. And Daryl Davis actually apparently has through kindness, through the sorts of things that we're trying to promote within our cultivation of our better selves, has actually opened up many people to giving up their robes as well. There's a link in the chat. It's not the interview necessarily that I heard, but I find it to be a pretty inspiring story, and just sharing.
Thank you.
Much bigger than myself.
Thank you very much. Well, shall we sing ourselves out of here? Back to the gallery. So please unmute. And I will, as promised, go right to my blog and put that poem in, so it'll be there in just a few moments. I hope. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Till soon, dear friends. Have a wonderful, mindful day. Goodbye. Thank you for coming. Thanks for coming to the party.